Hello and welcome to What Did I Miss? Where today I'm looking at the top 10 best lightsaber battles from the Star Wars movies. While The Mandalorian may be the most popular Star Wars property right now, it is also missing one key component of Star Wars, which are the spectacular lightsaber battles we have come to expect. Never has a hand-to-hand weapon been so synonymous with a franchise, so much so that you rarely see anything similar anywhere else. For years, these confrontations have amazed and thrilled fans and allowed them to dream of wielding the weapon themselves, to the point where some very smart people have actually created versions of them. The reason these skirmishes are so memorable is that they are rarely about pure violence and instead engage the audience with emotionality and brilliant imagery. I rewatched all the movies, including the ones not a part of the Skywalker saga, and ranked each fight by its emotionality, technicality, theatrics, as well as how important it is to the overall saga. This is What Did I Miss?
That's more your specialty.
While not a battle as much as a slaughter, the ending scene of Rogue One is one of the most important scenes for the Skywalker saga, as it sets up the first scene in A New Hope while also displaying why Darth Vader was someone the galaxy feared more than anyone else. While the original trilogy did establish Darth Vader as a man powerful with the dark side of the Force, we did not see him in action as much with a lightsaber, and when we did, he looked more like Michael Myers than a master swordsman. But with the movie Rogue One occurring right before the events of A New Hope, it allowed the writers to include a familiar face in the film while also allowing them to use technology that wasn't available 30 years ago, and create a scene that is just as exhilarating as it is truly frightening. First, we hear that familiar mechanical labored breathing, and then we see a shining red lightsaber cut through the black, foreshadowing the doom of anyone in the way of this Lord of Darkness. What happens next is 60 seconds of pure brutality, as Vader uses his lightsaber as well as the Force to kill and eviscerate about a dozen fully armed rebel soldiers. Even though Vader did not ultimately succeed in his goal, the makers of the scene succeeded in making the most feared man in the galaxy that much more menacing. Another battle that was predominantly one-sided, the final lightsaber battle in The Rise of Skywalker, also had a tremendous impact on the franchise, as it brought together the two main characters in the sequel trilogy full circle. Throughout the first two films of the trilogy, it seemed that there was a chance that the protagonist Rey could become the ultimate villain of the films, similarly to the path Luke Skywalker was tempted with in the original trilogy. Just as it looks like Rey will literally reanimate the Sith culture, Ben Solo arrives to help her defeat the Sith, only to be met by his former followers, the Knights of Ren. In a moment that shows the power of will of the Force, Rey is able to send Ben a lightsaber and grabs another while they both chop down their adversaries. Both use the Force as well as their weapons by deflecting laser blasts, jumping over opponents, and throwing them into the abyss in a spectacular scene that gives one character a chance at redemption and shows the other's ability to control the strength within her. Say what you will about the movie as a whole, but there is no doubt that this was an exciting spectacle showing both characters fulfilling their arcs for the saga. Everyone loves a good rematch, and one of the biggest rematches in Star Wars history occurred in the first act of Revenge of the Sith, the third and final movie of the prequel trilogy. Learning from his past mistakes, Anakin tries to attack the much more experienced Count Dooku in lockstep with his Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it is clear that Count Dooku would prefer to fight the young Padawan alone and separates the two Jedi. Anakin and Count Dooku then fight in a beautifully shot fight sequence that highlights the different styles of the combatants, pitting Count Dooku's elegant, almost regal style against Anakin's more aggressive style. Ultimately, Count Dooku is not able to hand Anakin another defeat and loses not only the fight but his head in the process, which sets Anakin even further down the path towards the dark side. I've always loved this fight because of Count Dooku, also known as Darth Tyrannus, distinct fighting style, and how it is representative of this era of the Star Wars universe. He portrayed a different type of Sith and lightsaber user from a much more civilized era, as he seems to almost deflect each Jedi's blow naturally and without concern. The implications that this fight has on the development of Anakin Skywalker into Darth Sidious' apprentice also make this fight pivotal to the Star Wars saga. Nothing establishes a good rivalry like an upset, and having a Force wielder who just learned about her powers defeat a man trained as both a Jedi and a Sith definitely set the tone for the story of these two young stars of the sequel trilogy. After a wounded Kylo makes short work of Finn, Rey regains her consciousness and pulls Anakin's lightsaber out of the snow using the Force, similar to the way Luke did in Empire Strikes Back. We saw earlier in the film that Rey can hold her own, but here she shows an almost immediate link to the Force, which allows her to tap into experience that she did not realize she had, and use it to almost end the story of Kylo Ren. She leaves him scarred physically and emotionally from the fight, and starts her own journey towards a better understanding of the Force. The fight is also shot wonderfully against a dark and snowy backdrop that allows the glow of the lightsabers to be the only thing illuminating the scene most times. Although the fight ends in less than climactic fashion, it has a lasting effect on all those who are involved and shows the vast and unknown power of the Force to both young warriors. The first lightsaber battle in Star Wars history may have had more impact on the Star Wars universe as a whole than any other, and remains as one of the most famous ever on screen. This final battle between master and apprentice was also a rematch 19 years in the making, in which an elder Obi-Wan Kenobi engages his former pupil with no intent of defeating him. His plan instead is to allow for his group to escape and ultimately defeat the Empire, while also empowering his young Padawan to further his knowledge of the Force. The battle does not take long, and Darth Vader is able to defeat Obi-Wan, but this does allow Obi-Wan to become a Force ghost and be a much more powerful mentor for Luke. While there is no doubt of the lasting effects of this battle, the fight itself leaves something to be desired, as there is not a good deal of action before the final blow. Honestly, there's a YouTube channel named Fix It in Post, I don't know if I'm saying that right, I hope I am, that created a really awesome alternative to this fight scene with new action and special effects that I really enjoy, and in my head, I kind of act like this was the actual fight. I'll put the link to it in the description, and you should really check it out. Another fight that took place before the advent of CGI, the first battle between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader proved to be much more entertaining than the last time we saw Vader in battle, although it is the climax of the fight that really makes it so memorable. Darth Vader believes that he will be able to set a trap for the young Skywalker, but Luke is able to escape it and engage the Dark Lord in an energetic fight. It actually looks like Luke has developed comparable skills with a lightsaber to Vader and is able to wound him, but Vader is ultimately able to use his ability and experience with the Force to almost kill him. Instead, he leaves him with two wounds, one the loss of his hand and the other the knowledge that the evilest person in the galaxy is actually his father. I just imagine being in the theater and seeing that for the first time and going nuts. I can't even imagine it now with all the online spoilers ruining every movie before you even get a chance to watch it. Speaking of which, if you like The Mandalorian, I'm doing weekly reviews of the show, and I will put a link to that in the description here. Probably my favorite scene in the entire sequel trilogy, the fight in Snoke's chamber, is a visual masterpiece that plays out more like a scene from Kill Bill than from any other Star Wars movie. Just as it looks like Snoke will be able to fully control Kylo Ren and make him kill Rey, he turns the tables on him and kills him where he sits, which frees both Rey and him from Snoke's grasp. What happens next is an exciting and gorgeous sequence between the two Force users and about half a dozen elite guards that look like they are straight out of a space-age samurai film. The most amazing thing to me about this fight is how brutal most of the deaths are, and even though we do not see blood, we witness these guards just get picked apart. In the end, we see Rey and Kylo use vicious killing maneuvers to defeat the last two guards, the likes of which we hardly ever see in the saga. What makes the fight even more meaningful is that it gives us the impression that Kylo has turned to the light side of the Force, but instead, we see the battle has only further committed him to ruling the galaxy. The third rematch on this list is also the most meaningful, as the pivotal fight between father and son in Return of the Jedi will always be remembered as not only one of the greatest scenes in Star Wars, but perhaps all cinema. Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker engage in a fight for the fate of the universe, while the evil Emperor looks on and taunts the young Skywalker with the impending doom of his friends who are also fighting for their lives. Again, the choreography of the fight cannot match the newer movies, but there's so much emotion from not only the words spoken, but the realization by Luke that he is becoming just like his father when he takes his father's hand. It is also shot beautifully, and the imagery stands as some of the best in the saga, plus the fact that this fight is happening while the war is also raging on in space as well as on land, elevate the stakes for the viewer in a way few other one-on-one duels can match. The end of the fight allows the defeated Vader to save his son and find some redemption before his demise, and caps off one of the best trilogies ever in film. The second lightsaber battle in a row on this list that finishes a trilogy is a classic and massive battle between Master and Padawan from Revenge of the Sith that ended the story for one character in a way while birthing his dark and damaged alter ego. In a seemingly unbelievable, and at times hard to follow coherently, string of events, Anakin Skywalker has now turned to the dark side as the apprentice of Darth Sidious and has adopted the moniker of Darth Vader as he fights Obi-Wan Kenobi against a scorched landscape. The two engage in one of the most epic battles of all time that follows them while they destroy the environment around them as well as erode the relationship they had built. I always saw this scene as Obi-Wan trying to save Anakin from hell one last time, and that really is what it looks like and how it plays out. The fight is almost 7 minutes in length, while most of the other fights on this list are 1 to 2 minutes, which is a further example of the immensity of this clash of former brothers. Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen really nail their parts too, and if you want to watch something else fun, the behind the scenes for this fight are enjoyable just to see their commitment to this crucial scene. Though not as inherently meaningful to the saga as perhaps the last 3 entries on this list, the fight between Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi against Darth Maul remains my favorite of all time. The first reason for this being that it is the most well choreographed fight in this saga, without question. All 3 actors are able to create a visibly engaging experience, but the scene really shines when Obi-Wan takes on Maul after his master has fallen. Also, I remember being 20 years old and watching this in the theater the weekend it came out and being amazed that Star Wars was now capable of producing action sequences like this. Plus, can I get some love for Ray Park as the most talented man to ever wield a lightsaber? He just nails his performance as Darth Maul, even if his 3 lines were dubbed over, but still he is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars because he is so visually stunning and so fun to watch. I remember being more saddened by the fact that he seemed to die in this scene than Qui-Gon Jinn, and not because I expected one to die, but because I just thought the character was so remarkable. The CGI scenery is pretty astonishing too, complete with that thing that is cool to see and helps the scene, but can't have any logical purpose. I will always love this scene and look at it as the greatest lightsaber battle in all the Star Wars movies. Well, this is what I think, but let me know in the comments. What did I miss? Did I get any wrong or miss any that you love? I also want to say that not only are there awesome fan-made lightsaber live action sequences that I will link below, but the animated series also had some great lightsaber battles too, and it just so happens that Darth Maul is my favorite one from there as well. So you should definitely check those out. I hope that you enjoyed this list, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?